Hello and welcome to this lecture. And in this lecture, we will go ahead and learn how you can create this kind of a layout using Bootstrap. So let's first go ahead and kind of break down this layout into individual steps and see how you can design that. So if you have a look at this layout, this thing right here, so if you look at the mouse pointer, this entire area right here is nothing but a single row. So this thing right here is another row, this one is another, so on and so forth. So what we have done here is that first of all, we have created a row and we have used the nesting of rows and columns in order to make this particular layout. So in this row, we have divided the column into a certain proportion, which is 1:2 proportions. What we have done is that inside this row, we have split these columns, that is the 4 columns over here for the image, and we have allocated the rest of the 8 columns over here for this section right here, which has some text and has some details and a button. So first of all, you need to create a row, then you need to create 2 columns, one with column MD4 and another with column MD8, as we want the 2:1 split over here. So let's go ahead and do that and build the section one by one so as to avoid any confusion. So let's go right below where the cards row actually ends. So this is the row which belongs to cards. So if I click over here, this div automatically gets highlighted. That means we have to go right over here to create an actual div. So I will go ahead, create a row over here. So that's going to be div class equals row. So now once we have this row, we will go ahead and we will make 2 columns. So the first column is going to be div class column -md-4, and this column over here, another one is going to be div class col-md-8. Now once we end these 2 divs, we are now good to go. So now what you can do is that you can add an image to the first div which actually spans 4 columns. So you can use the same image which we have used over here. So you can simply copy the image or copy the image address, go back over here and use the image tag over here. So image source is going to be the image path which we have over here. And now we don't end the tag. Instead, we want to make the image responsive. Henceforth, we will be using the image fluid class for this image tag. So the class is going to be img-fluid. Make sure to end the tag, and now you are good to go. So now if you open up the web page and if you hit refresh, as you can see, you have added this image over here, and this section starts right from here. But as you can see, there is no space or margin right over here. So Bootstrap allows you to add a class which allows you to add some margin. So you simply type empty-5, which means it's going to add a margin of 5 units. So now if you go back over here and hit refresh, as you can see, we have some space over here. So now you can also use some sort of different image over here which you think is much more suitable. So you can also use this image over here, and let's just use another image because otherwise our site is going to look monotonous. So I will replace this image with the new image over here, and I'll just go back and see how that thing looks like. So if I hit refresh, as you can see, we now have this image over here. Now we also need to add a heading, the news description, and the read more button on the right hand side, and let's see how can we do that. So we have this column right over here for that kind of content, but here what we do is that we create 3 rows for each individual item. So let me open up the actual site, and what we do is that now once we are into this right hand side column here, we create 3 rows, 1 row for this thing, 1 row for this thing, and 1 row for this thing. That is the heading, the description, and the read more button. So we go inside this column, that is the rightmost column. Let's create 3 rows over here, which is div class equals row. This is going to be row 1. Again, let's create div class equals row. This is going to be row number 2. And let's again create div class equals row. This is going to be row number 3. So once we have these 3 rows, we are now good to go. So now we just need to go ahead and add some simple elements over here, which is the heading, some text, and a button. So let's go over here, and inside this row, first of all, we need to create a column. So I'll type in div class equals column md12 and the div over here. And we are actually going to use the same thing over here as well, because you cannot directly place some elements inside those rows. You still have to create columns. So make sure to paste them in each rows over here. So for the first row, we will create a heading. So let's say the heading looks something like this, and I'll use some dummy title like let's say drinking coffee can boost productivity. I actually am not making a statement over here, this is just some random text which I'm adding over here. And now let's add a paragraph over here by using the p tag. And if you are lazy to add some paragraph, you can just copy some sort of sentence and paste it multiple number of times, and that's it. Okay, so once we have this paragraph, let's actually make a final button over here. So that button is going to be created using the button tag. The class is going to be btn, let's say primary. Let's say this thing says read more. The button ends over here and we are good to go. So now let's see how exactly our layout looks like. So if we go back over here and hit refresh, our layout looks pretty much decent. So now once we have this row over here, let's also go ahead and copy this multiple number of times so we have a nice looking layout. So let me just go ahead and we will copy the entire row which we have created over here, and we'll copy the entire row which is created for the new layout, and you can paste it as many number of times as you want for as many number of news you want to include. So if you save the code, you go back over here and hit refresh, as you can see now we have that layout over here and our new site is pretty much ready. So now if I go back and reduce the size of this thing to a mobile device, this is what it's going to look like. So as you can see, the text aligned pretty much very neatly over here and everything is aligned just perfect. So that means we can say that our website is completely responsive. So that's it for this lecture, and in the next lecture we will be creating a different page which is going to be a completely different page for displaying individual posts or individual news. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.